My husband upgraded himself to business class on our family vacation. Now I'm considering divorce. When my husband of 5 years decided to upgrade himself to business class before our long-awaited family vacation, leaving me alone in economy with our 2 small children, I knew something inside me had shifted. What was supposed to be a fun and memorable trip quickly turned into a breaking point. And now, I'm seriously considering divorce. Let me give you a little background. My name is Emma, 30F, and my husband, Andrew, 32N, and I have been married for 5 years and together for almost 8. We share 2 young children, a 3-year-old daughter and a 1.5-year-old son. We met through friends, fell in love, and built a life together. While our relationship has had its ups and downs, I always believed we were a team until this trip shattered that illusion. From the beginning of our parenting journey, Andrew has struggled. When our daughter was born, he was completely clueless. I did most of the work. Even though we had a nanny for when we were at work, weekends were all on us. Well, mostly on me. He would get nervous caring for the baby and often said he didn't know what to do. I was patient. I figured he'd get the hang of it, and eventually he did. But then our son was born, and it was like starting all over again. I felt like a single mom. Every time we stepped out with the kids, I was the one doing everything. Feeding, carrying, managing tantrums, while he just existed beside me. We fought about it a few times, but I always forgave him. I kept hoping he'd improve, that he'd rise to the occasion and be the kind of father I knew he could be. Fast forward to a couple of weeks ago, we planned a family trip to Los Angeles. My sister Abby, 26F, recently moved there with her husband, and we thought it'd be the perfect chance to visit and take a much-needed vacation. We spent weeks planning, because let's face it, traveling with toddlers isn't easy. 2 days ago, we finally got to the airport. While I was juggling the kids and the luggage, Andrew told me he needed to use the bathroom. He disappeared for nearly half an hour. Worried, I called him, and after beating around the bush for a bit, he finally confessed. While booking our flight, he realized he had enough points to upgrade himself to business class. So he did it. Without telling me. He claimed he didn't mention it because he knew I wouldn't approve. That's when the rage hit. I told him to come back immediately. I was furious, not just because he left me with both kids, but because this was supposed to be a family vacation. Instead of joining us, he said I could handle the kids on my own for the 3-hour flight, and that he deserved a break. I was stunned. Did he think I didn't deserve one too? I'm also a working parent. I manage the house, the kids, our schedules, all while holding down a job. Yet he thought he needed a break? After arguing over the phone, he hung up on me. I seriously considered going back home, but I decided I wouldn't let his selfishness ruin my trip. So I boarded the flight with my kids, without him. My daughter asked why Daddy wasn't with us, but I dodged the question. Once we landed, I didn't wait. I grabbed a cab and went straight to my sister's place, leaving the bags behind with him. At Abby's, I explained everything. She was appalled and told me I could stay with her as long as I needed. She even offered to replace the kids' things if Andrew didn't return them. Andrew called me multiple times, but I ignored him. Eventually, I called him back, and he sounded panicked. He'd been waiting at the airport with the luggage, confused and worried. I told him I was safe, with the kids, and that I didn't want to see him for the rest of the trip. I also told him that once we were back home, I would be filing for divorce. He was shocked. He said I was overreacting, that I was blowing things out of proportion. He begged me to come to the hotel and talk things through, but I wasn't interested. I explained that this wasn't about just the flight. It was about everything. Years of being the only truly responsible parent. Years of emotional labor. Years of telling him what needed to be done instead of him stepping up. He kept insisting he contributed equally. But the truth is, he didn't. He only did things if I asked. He never noticed when the kids needed new clothes, when the groceries were running low, or when the laundry was piling up. I had been the default parent. The default housekeeper. Everything. Worst of all, when it came to parenting, I was the strict one, the teacher, the disciplinarian. He got to be the fun dad who swooped in on weekends and played games, while I was the one making sure our kids grew up right. I had voiced all of this before. He always promised to change. but nothing ever did. And now, after the airport stunt, I finally saw the truth. He wasn't going to change. After that call, he kept texting me, begging to talk. He said he realized his mistake and wanted to make things right. Then his parents called. They've always been kind to me, so I picked up. They apologized on Andrew's behalf and begged me not to divorce him. They said they didn't want to lose access to their grandkids and reminded me of the 8 years we'd spent together. That phone call shook me. It made me second-guess everything. They weren't wrong. 8 years is a long time. And yes, we've been through a lot. But part of me still feels like what Andrew did was the last straw. He knew how I felt and did it anyway. Now I'm stuck in this weird place. Everyone's urging me to forgive him. He's texting me nonstop, saying we can work things out. Maybe I am overreacting, or maybe I've just finally reached my limit. So, am I the asshole for threatening divorce because my husband upgraded to business class and left me alone with our 2 kids right before our family vacation? Update 1. Hi, so 3 days have passed since I landed in LA, and I have been living with Abby and her husband. They have been kind enough to open up their home to me and have been there for me in this difficult time. I've been sharing clothes with Abby, and the kids got some new clothes for themselves. However, we can finally go back to wearing our own clothes now, because earlier today, I finally met with Andrew, and he brought along our bags with him. Last night, after a lot of deliberation and a discussion with Abby and her husband, I finally decided to respond to Andrew. I gave him the address, and that was it. I did not say anything else. I figured that if he wanted to show up, he would come on his own. It would not require me to say anything else. Besides, after all that had happened, I felt really awkward. This morning, he showed up with the bags and everything. When he came, Abby and her husband decided to take the kids and go into a separate room. The kids were quite happy to see him since they had been asking about him a lot. There was a lot of hugging and screaming, and I instantly knew that even if I did file for divorce, I would never be able to get myself to file for full custody as well. Because of everything, they seemed to be very happy around their father, and he was just as happy to be around his kids. Anyway, once the kids were in a separate room, we finally got to talking. It was awkward, but he told me that he was really sorry from the bottom of his heart for not being a better father and a better husband. He said that he hadn't even thought that any of this was a big deal, but he hadn't exactly been thinking about how I felt and had just been thinking about his own self. And it was really incredibly selfish of him. He finally told me that he really appreciated everything that I had done for the family and how hard I continued to push myself all the time just to keep everybody happy. I told him that these were nice things to hear, but I needed real and tangible change. I had given him several chances to do so, but he never took any of it seriously, and that was why we were in the situation today. I told him that what had happened at the airport had really hurt me. And maybe I had overreacted a bit, but honestly, everything just kept piling on and I couldn't deal with any of this anymore. I thought that he was going to get defensive again, but to my surprise, he came to me, got onto his knees, and took my hands in his own. That was when I realized that I still loved him, no matter how he behaved with me, because the way that I felt when he did that made me feel like I was safe and nothing bad could ever happen to me. I started crying while he was on his knees, and he told me that he was really sorry and that he knew he needed to step up and be there for his family. He also went on to explain that so far he had made his work his life. Every day, he would come back home just so drained and worried about the future, since he believed that whatever he was making was not enough. So much so that he couldn't even bring himself to think about anything else. He even said that he had been taking anxiety medication for the past couple of months because of how stressed out he had been. I didn't know that, and he said that he didn't tell me because he didn't want to worry me about these things. He said he had fallen asleep at the wheel and he was ashamed of it. But he just wanted one chance to make it work with me. He promised me that he would make it worth it and I would not regret it. I was still crying while he was saying all of this, so he wiped my tears and sat beside me. And just like old times, I put my head on his shoulder and we just sat there like that for a couple of minutes. And I know this might not be the decision a lot of people will agree with, but I decided I was going to stay with him. I really didn't care about what other people would say because I love him so much. I don't think I can ever love anybody that way. But I also love my children, and I wanted the best for them. So I told him that I needed some time to think about things right now, and he told me that I could have all the time that I needed. After that, we hugged and he went back to the hotel. I have discussed things with Abby, and she told me that she has no advice for me. She just thinks that I'm a good wife and an even better mother, so she knows that I will do what's right for the family. I thought about things from Andrew's perspective after the conversation that we had today, and I guess it can't be easy to be in a position like that. Because while we both work, he definitely has always been more stressed about his work than I have ever been. He comes from a family where he has had to face extremely tough situations since his father lost his job and was struggling for a good couple of years when he was younger. So he knows what it means to struggle for money. And I guess that explains why he had been so focused on his work and nothing else. It's not an excuse, I know, but it is what it is. Also, the fact that he had been so stressed out for so long and hadn't even told me about it because he didn't want me to worry, it just makes me realize that we have just had a lapse in communication. And if we can fix that, maybe we can move past this. So now I'm going to think about it for a while, and then let's see what happens. Upload 2. Hi. So it's been a couple of days since my last update. 2 days after that conversation with Andrew, I decided to go live with him in the hotel that we had rooms in. I finally got out of Abby's hair with my kids. I thanked her for letting me stay with her and being there for me. She and her husband even dropped me off at the hotel, and since then, we have been staying together. We figured that our fight was leading to the kids getting disappointed, since we had promised them a fun vacation, and now we were staying separate, and they barely got to do anything fun. So we are doing everything that we had planned we would do, and the kids seem to be much happier now that we are together. I still have a lot of unresolved issues, but for the sake of the children, we are trying to keep all of that aside and just be there for each other as a family. I think that's the most important part of our lives right now, being there for our children and making sure that they are happy. He was right. We have been through much worse situations, so I think we can make it through this as well. When I came back to the hotel with the kids, I told them that I was not considering getting a divorce right now, but we still had a lot of things to work through. However, as soon as I told him that I was not thinking about divorce anymore, he was so happy that he literally hugged me, lifted me in the air, and did a full twirl. I don't even think he heard the last part, and I didn't have the heart to repeat it because I was laughing so hard. Anyway, he keeps saying sorry every morning and has been doing his very best to make up for everything. I'm literally being treated like a princess right now, and I can't say that I have any complaints about his behavior at the moment. If things continue at this rate, I might even forgive him a lot earlier than I had planned. Update 3. Hi. So this update is particularly to address something that people have been saying. I've been receiving a constant stream of comments from a particularly hateful section saying that I'm a terrible mother and that I'm an idiot for getting back together with Andrew. I can understand that some people might not agree with my decision to get back together with him, but only I know that Andrew and I have been together for a really long time. We have had our fair share of issues, and what he did recently was not right. But if he's willing to work on it, then I want to give him a chance. I want to fight for our marriage, and I don't think that there is anything wrong with it. Lots of women do it, and for some of them, things actually turn out to be great. I want to believe that I am one of those women because Andrew has started changing right after we had that discussion. If he goes back to his usual self, then I know what to do. But as of now, I want to keep our marriage intact, and I really don't think there's anything wrong with wanting that for myself. The constant barrage of hate that I've been receiving is breaking my heart. Lots of people have been accusing me of being selfish for getting together with him even though he's not a good father. I personally don't agree with that. I think he's a good father, and he's trying to be better. So that's what really counts. Anyway, we are almost at the end of our vacation right now, and things have been going incredibly well for both of us. So I hate to break it to you guys, but all of you were wrong. Once we get back home, we are going to start couples counseling. And I know for a fact that it's going to help us. The only reason I'm even posting updates right now is for the well-wishers, because quite a lot of you have been invested in my story and wanted to know more. So if some people really think that I'm not meant to be with him, then you guys are free to not read my updates on this post, but please just keep your hateful comments to yourselves, because it's not worth it. Andrew and I are really happy together, and our kids are better off for it. Ultimately, we know what's best for our family, and I think people should really respect that. So if you're rooting for us to break up, I'm sorry to inform you, but that's not going to happen. Story upload. 4. Hi, everyone. Wow, it's been quite some time since I came on Reddit. My last post was pretty intense. I guess it was not a real update. It was mostly just a rant about the hate I had been receiving. But I'm happy to tell you guys that Andrew and I are still together. It has been 7 months since our vacation, and after we returned, we started looking for counselors near us and have been in couples counseling for the past couple of months. It's been going really well for us, and Andrew has been cutting back on his hours at work as well. He is more involved in the household now and takes care of the kids like never before. And now it's not just the fun part that he's there for. He's there for them at all times. Whenever he's at home, he doesn't bring the office back home with him anymore. And I'm really glad about that. It also really feels like we have been able to find each other after a really long time. We have ramped up the date nights and are trying to reignite the spark. Because while we were on vacation, we realized that we really did love each other. But things have just been so hectic and intense for the past couple of years that we had forgotten to show each other the love that we felt. So, we get our parents to babysit the children while we go out a couple of nights every month because we really need it. There's more to life than just work and kids, and I guess that was part of the reason why things were going so awry. Anyway, we have been actively working on our marriage, and Andrew has never been a better husband or a father. Most importantly, the kids are happier than ever, and that's really what both of us honestly want. They are thrilled to have their father around more, and whenever I look at them, I feel like I made the right choice by sticking to him. Money is going to come and go, but ultimately, we are all that we have. I think he had been a little too stressed about the future. But in a couple of weeks, we are going to take another road trip. This time it's going to be much better. Our kids are quite excited about it, and we are going to make sure that this time everything is perfect. And you know what? Even if it's not, we want to find a way to deal with it like a family. Because if the past couple of months have taught us anything, it is that we can do whatever we set our minds to as long as we have each other. And I know that it sounds like something straight out of a corny film, but it's true.